Would it look like for our community to grow, to be in a place where, hey, I'm Filipino and I belong here in DFW?
Vic Chiropractic. I am the owner and the primary chiropractor here. I got my buddy here, Mark Sampelo. He is the co-founder of PACE and one of the leading advisors at Northwestern Mutual. And he can wear that with pride. Absolutely. So if you could tell me, what is PACE?
PACE, it stands for Filipino American Community Endeavor. We are a volunteer nonprofit with professionals. We have folks in healthcare, we have folks that are lawyers, entrepreneurs, folks in finance, community organizers. But what really brings us together is that commonality about building and caring for our community. A lot of us are in the diaspora, or between being, Filipino and American. What does that mean? Now that we've established ourselves as professionals, we want to imagine, what would it look like for our community to grow, to be in a place where, hey, I'm Filipino and I belong here in DFW. So if we look around at our fellow communities, the Indian, the Chinese, the Korean Americans, they've really established places where you can see their prominence.
Right.
And that's because they've come together. What's unique about us as Filipinos is, and it's just history, we've been kind of had clan-like or tribal mentalities where we stick to our own bubbles. But with PACE, we just hope to bring everyone together, to start to build a table, build a table for us before there's no more room. If we aren't welcome in the table, we got to build our own.
Right.
And for us, what's different is we want everyone to have a seat at that table. And who are the people we want to, collaborate, work with? Small business owners, community partners, families, kids. How do we make it accessible? How do we make it sustainable? And at the end of the day, are we making a true impact? So, our mission is to uplift, empower, and just inspire our growing communities here. And we do that through our many programs and events. So,
that's awesome.
Nonprofits, what does it mean to encourage the arts, whether it's visual or our performers, our singers,
Right.
martial arts, our language, our culture. And we have Filipino town halls. So starting to talk about our issues. The first step about addressing problems is just being able to have an open discussion, so that we can work together to see what resources does everyone have and how can we come together. But yeah, our ultimate vision is just to create a Filipino community center. And to do that, we first have to identify who's in the community.
Right.
So we want to create spaces that are safe. We want to create, that's what Lone Star Palenque is for. That's why we have community days, so where we have free workshops. Last year we had speakers on nutrition.
Yeah.
Our people are prone to diabetes and high cholesterol. It's in my family history.
Man. It is a very big topic, and as funny as it is, and it's in every meal that we have, and that culprit is rice. So
yeah. So yeah, that's a lot, but that's just the hoping that captures what we're trying to accomplish.
That's a big mission. It's a big mission.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's not just us.
Yep.
We identify that we can't do it all. So that's why we highlight our business owners and we highlight our community organizers that focus on specific niche things. Because, our mission isn't necessarily to teach Tagalog, but we know the impact that could have on our children if there's access.
Yeah.
We want our people to be healthy, but we don't do that.
Yeah.
So that's where we lean on folks like you, and
Right.
We lean on nutritionists that teach us about, these are healthy alternatives to the ingredients that we use. So
That's
just
awesome.
wanted to share a little bit.
Dude, I think you hit every possible thing that I can imagine with what you guys are doing. Where have we found a home for that community center yet?
So that's the thing, is we actually have had discussions with a lot of different cities and their city councils. A lot of it is just raising the capital right now. It's crazy. We started about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So that was July 2022.
Yeah.
And the first project was how do we fund this? And that's why we did Lone Star Palenque, was how do we garner support? It's still accessible, it's still free to the community, but with our sponsors, vendors, and people that want to donate, we've been able to raise about 3% for the community.
Yeah.
And now it's about raising that capital to 2.2 million. So we've had a lot of folks that have been receptive and have shown support. It's just we have architects that are on board. So one's actually from Houston. He designed, if you've been to Houston, there are bridges that are lit up.
Yeah. Yeah.
He designed those, and
no
then
kidding. That's awesome.
he designed the Houston Methodist Hospital, and that's a huge campus down in Houston. And then one of our board members, Ate Elna Malari, she's been serving the community for years, and she designed. If you've been to Studio Movie Grill, she was the interior architect.
She's the one that changed it up. She's the one that made it super nice now. Like you want to go in there and hang out. Oh my gosh.
So
like all of them?
A majority of them.
Wow.
So she worked for them, and now she does contract. She's a contract architect, but she's also on board to help build. We have some exciting developments, but as soon as they come into fruition, we'll make those announcements.
Okay.
But for us, like I mean, for me personally, a lot of it, faith is just a big part of, my mission and vision and leading. It's my personal journey. A lot of it was just faith and seeing what's possible, and hard work, and people have just been coming. Like people have just been in alignment, and it's unexplainable. So
that's how it happens. Whenever you have a group of people that have an idea, and you literally just put it in the universe, and then everything just kind of falls into place. So we're still looking for a home for the community center. Are there like a top 3 option right now? Because you said right now it kind of depends on funding, right? And then the city.
We can't say a city because we don't have the capital to make bids on certain properties.
So is the number 2.2?
That's just the start.
So more the better.
Yeah, more the better. I mean, our number is 2.2 initially, so that we can make bids on if there's properties that already have the framework, they have the plumbing, they have the foundation, electricity. That's less cost for us, and it's just a more so how can we repurpose this establishment into serving our community. The commonality is whether we're building from the ground up, which is going to cost more and take more time, or we have found like an abandoned lot with the structure is just having enough land. So we want it to be sustainable. When we think about legacy, it's about how do we sustain it past our time? What's the point of creating something that only lasts for a moment? True impact is if it's there even long after we're gone.
Right.
So that's what we have in mind. And alongside the community center, we want to have at least land or buildings around it so we can create businesses to support our small business owners that are Filipino, try to create similar to, what they've done in Carrollton. Just a space where, everyone's here. Because one of the things we want to combat too is to also make sure we lower the turnover in Filipino businesses. There have been a handful, and We want to help solve that problem, and by, supporting businesses around the Filipino Community Center and just having those spaces, we are able to conduct programs to benefit our communities, whether it's health,
Right.
language, immigration, you name it. You just move here, you're from the Philippines, where do I go? The nearest consulate is in Houston, 4 hours away.
Oh God, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
And we have an honorary consulate general here.
Okay.
But we just need to have those resources. We don't want to have people go all the way down to support. We have a growing community here.
Yeah.
There's go ahead.
No. So with that in mind, that kind of also ties into what you were saying, how there is already an Indian community, Chinese community, Vietnamese community. They all have representation for these similar things.
Yeah. So there's
here in Dallas.
They have places of, not just places of worship, but they have established businesses, but they're grouping together. And that's a lot stronger than having every Filipino business across town.
Yeah.
And while we want to support all of them, if you say you wanted to go support a Filipino restaurant, and then you wanted to ship something to the Philippines, and then you wanted to, buy Filipino merchandise or snacks, you're less likely to go through 3 different cities to accomplish. If we have enough traffic and we create the environment that's conducive of many Filipino businesses, doesn't just have to be Filipino, but if there's a lot there, not only are we supporting those small businesses, they get traffic, it becomes sustainable, and then we also have more funding from cities to show,
Right.
oh, there are Filipinos here. So, just little history. Filipinos have been in Dallas for over 50 years, since the 60s. And there's between 80 to 100,000.
Oh shit.
So 80,000 was the 2020 census.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's between 80 to 100 now.
Yeah.
So that's also what motivates us is for me personally, when I have a family, I want there to be places where, my child or children can be proud to be Filipino. They can visually see it.
Yeah.
It's not just the weekend parties where, oh, we're going to Tito Babe's house. It's this person's birthday, and that's my only. Or it's back
it's
then.
a cousin of a cousin of a cousin.
Yeah. Or if you remember, the gatherings would be oh, Pacquiao's fighting. Going further than the celebrities and the sports. What if it was hey, this is our community. These are the people in our community. These are the people that help support us.
Yeah.
And places where we can just learn more about our culture, learn more about our language. I mean, I can understand Tagalog, but I'm not fluent. I have to really, I have to download the software, or I have to dig deep to pull out sentences.
You have Google Translate looking down below. So that's pretty awesome because you mentioned earlier, just the identity of a Filipino American. I've experienced that, I would say probably ever since high school. So I'm half Vietnamese, half Filipino. And my primary language is English. And the only way I can understand either language is through a guessing game or just reading their body language and just kind of hearing context clues, because even both languages, they will speak broken English. And then you can kind of pick up what they're trying to say or how they're directing their body. And now my wife, she is Chinese. So now I got to learn another language. And so that's also one of the reasons why I reached out to PACE and the Lone Star Palenque, was because I want to be able to see my other side and see the roots of the Filipino culture, because I was only exposed to what the family gatherings, the karaoke, the Pacquiao fights, and just the birthdays and just hanging out that way. And we never really dove deep into it. So I wanted to expose myself and be part of it.
Yeah.
One thing that you also mentioned was the town hall meetings. How often do they happen?
So we're all volunteer. We
Okay.
have, 9 to 5s. Some of
Yeah.
us. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, so it
Yeah.
just varies. But
Mhm.
we work a lot. So we try to have a big event that we host once a quarter.
Okay.
So the town hall is one of those quarter events.
Okay.
So Lone Star Plank is one of them.
Oh, nice.
Town
Okay.
hall, and then Community Day is what we've done last year.
Mhm.
We're hoping to have one in January. We haven't
Mhm.
officially
Okay.
announced it yet, but somewhere earlier in the year, so we can identify, hey, these are the people that are part. These are the people that are part of the community, our business owners, our community leaders. Let's just have a think tank of
Yeah.
what ideas, how can we get everyone connected as well.
Mhm.
So we want it to be natural. I think the first one, it was a lot of
Mhm.
like learning,
Mhm.
it was a lot of introductions.
Yeah.
So for the first time, I had kind of met these people in different spaces,
Mhm.
but it's just incredible having everyone in the room.
Mhm.
Um,
Is this also not only just like the board members, but also like business owners and community people too?
yeah, we had
Yeah.
a few business owners, and then folks that were influential and had made an impact
Mm-hmm.
through various generations
Yeah.
in different types of groups.
Yeah.
We invited a lot of folks, so once we get the flow, we're hoping to do it more frequently,
Mhm.
but at least once or twice a year. We
Mhm.
just have a state of affairs. Hey, what's important to you in the community?
Mm-hmm.
Providing that open space. I heard this recently, but the best leaders are the ones that are accessible. So although we all have busy schedules, if we don't
Mhm.
actually listen to the people in our community, are we actually serving them?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it for our own gain or our agendas?
Yeah.
We can't lose sight of the work and
Mhm.
impact we're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be purposeful and it has to be intentional as well. So that's why having that open space for people to just voice,
Mm-hmm.
how do we solve problems if we don't even know they exist?
Mm-hmm.
So there could be things that, because we're in the community that we don't
Mhm.
see happening because, we're in certain spaces more often
Mhm.
than, hey, like, what if there's immigration is an issue, or there's, school systems are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
While we may not have the answers, while no one may have the answers, I think just having healthy discussions
Mm-hmm.
would help. Would help everyone
Right.
identify these are actual needs.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that we want to see in the community,
Yeah.
but that could also be different than what the community needs.
Right.
So it's like the needs and wants, and what's the most beneficial.
Right.
If we answer the questions for our community,
Mm-hmm.
that's just from one perspective. But if we come together to answer those
Mm-hmm.
and address those problems together, then
Yeah.
we're growing as a community.
Mm-hmm. And you're building that trust with everybody too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about your 9 to 5, man. How'd you get there? How'd you get to Northwestern Mutual?
Yeah. So, funny enough, out of college, I was in analytics.
Okay.
I worked for oil and gas
Okay.
in Houston
Okay.
for 2 years.
Okay.
And basically what I was doing was helping consolidate a bunch of data on Excel so that C-suite level executives could
Okay.
make
Mhm.
decisions that, bring in millions of dollars of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that in Houston, and this was before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to be home. There
Yeah.
was some family things going on.
So did you go to U of H?
I went to UT Dallas.
Okay.
So I went to UT
Right.
Dallas.
So you're from Dallas or are you from Houston?
I'm from Dallas.
From Dallas. Okay. And then what were
I
you doing in
moved-
Houston?
I
Oh, it's
moved
for
down-
work.
I moved down for work.
Okay. And then you moved back here
Yeah.
for family. Okay.
So 2 years. What was funny was, we had a manager that was working remote at the time. It's 2019, unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, everything I do is on the computer.
Yeah.
Can I work remote? Because I need to be home.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you need to be in the office. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, if you don't care
I
about my
quit.
family, like, why would I work for you?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, it was God's plan for me to move back.
Yep.
Within a week, I found someone offered me a job.
Yeah.
I was like, hey,
Yeah.
how would you like to do what you were doing, but for a software startup?
Yeah.
So, did data, and while I was doing my 9 to 5, like my corporate role as an analyst, data analyst, I was also doing nonprofit work through Unipro, which is Filipino American Community for Progress. And what we did was create spaces to educate and uplift our community. So we did workshops at the Filipino student associations at colleges, talk about our experiences as immigrants. We had art shows to show, hey, this is what's possible. We're not cookie cutter Filipinos. You don't have to be, you know, respect the ones in those fields, but there's so much more value that you can bring, and you don't have to follow these different things. And we even had like food events where we would have like a 4-course meal.
Oh man, that sounds awesome.
By a local pop-up chefs, and we would have discussions over the table to help bring the generation. So that was the work that I was a part of, and we've handed the torch, but I bring that up because I was a co-president and director of finance. I helped bring in 60,000 in grants.
Nice.
And that was while I was working
Oh man.
as an analyst, and
That's awesome.
help pave the way for relationships for them to get, you know.
And that's still going on today?
Yeah, they're still on.
That's awesome.
They're still. We pass the torch.
Yeah.
And that's what sustainability looks like. Is
Yeah.
you know, everyone grows.
Yeah.
But what I'm about is how do we? If I enter a space, how do I leave it better than when I first walked in?
Yeah.
How do we make it self-sustainable so that if there are bigger, better things or you know, personal passions, that we can pursue that.
Right.
And that's so they're in great hands. They're doing
Yeah.
a lot of big things. Unipro is actually started doing Tagalog workshops.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Where are they? Like, where do they?
they're
All over?
national. It's national. There's 5 chapters, and
Yeah.
a lot of the members are based in Dallas and Houston.
Okay.
So it's a interstate,
Yeah.
or I don't remember which word it was, inter or intra.
Yeah.
I'm not an English major, but
Yeah.
they're throughout the state,
Yeah.
and they do workshops for all the FSAs, and they have an art showcase. But
Nice.
so that experience of managing finances, bringing funding, it was just like. And then in college, I worked as a bank teller, so I was working full time as a bank teller, and I was also in school. So finance was always like, I was just good at math,
Yeah.
good at numbers, and at the end of the day, I just liked helping people. So fast forward, so going back to analyst at a startup,
Yeah.
the company's not doing well in the U.S. So then they call us on a Friday, hey, team meeting, and then the COO, Chief Operating Officer, he literally says, guys, it's over.
Oh God. No.
And then I was just like, and then I look around, everyone's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And then talked about severance package, only 1 month, and then I had to find, you know.
Oh my God.
So, you know, a lot of us, we kind of put our identity in what we do. And I think as part of my personal journey, it was showing that I'm more than what I do.
Yeah.
That my worth is within. And when I mean, it was a 3-month journey. I dyed my hair pink. You know, like it was meant to happen. And then during that break, my financial advisor reaches out, Alex Chan.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, it's your birthday. Let me take you out. Let's update your financial plan.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's great. I'd love to, but I don't have any money.
Yeah.
So
Can't have a financial plan with no finances. So I know that feeling exactly. We were just talking about that earlier. Like, yeah. Go ahead.
So he's like, well, let me just take you out. Let me try to help.
Yeah.
So he's trying to actively look for analyst jobs for me. Made some connections that didn't fit, but then he was like, hey, you should apply at our firm. We have openings. And I was like, well, you know, I didn't necessarily have like a finance degree, but I did study business at UT Dallas. So, and that I brought up the Unipro stuff because that's where like my experience was just like grouping my ability to translate numbers into sharing what it means. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Ended up enjoying it. And it really, you know, I don't know if you've heard of Ikigai, where it's a Japanese principle where it groups what you're good at, the good that you bring to the world, what you get paid for. That was like one of the defining moments where I was good at talking about numbers.
Yeah.
I was making an impact in people, and now with the career, it's not limited.
Right.
I'm not within a salary. Now I have the ability to impact our community.
Right.
Because I not only had flexibility in finances, but also had flexibility in time.
Right.
So it was definitely a great fit. And also being uniquely Filipino American, a lot of the times finances isn't taught, or we have different principles.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with those principles. Like, you know, a lot of the times as immigrants, you know, folks that are in America are the breadwinners of their families back home. So there's remittances. That's just part of, you know, there's a lot of folks that are faith-based and have a portion that goes to, you know, religious groups. So how do we take those things that are important to us, but also complement it with best practices financially? So, and what's really cool is just being able to grow with clients as well. And in my first year, I was in the top 3% of first-year advisors, being able to make an impact in over 100 families. So
I saw your banner. The picture where you had like badges on badges on badges that pretty much reached the floor. So you were doing work, man. That's awesome.
So you know, any work worth doing is worth doing well. And when you're doing work that's bigger than yourself, and you just continue to strive, the things will fall in place.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's a little bit about, you know, professionally. So my big thing is just how do I help bring financial literacy to our community, since most of the time our communities are, you know, engineer, healthcare, and then there's certain responsibilities we have, certain obligations, like usually like grandparents stay with us. But regardless, they're just, you know, the world isn't fair. Alongside building wealth, like a lot of people talk about return and building wealth, true wealth is being able to protect your wealth as well. So how do we protect and how do we build efficiently? And my job isn't to like replace whatever people have or tell them what to do. It's to help educate them on what tools are available, as well as what gaps do they have, what risks, what, you know, are they going to be paying high in taxes when they retire? How are they going to balance out the market risk? We can, and our job is just to optimize. So, but it's all about holistic planning.
Right.
Sometimes the best offense is defense, but you can't have one without the other.
Right.
If you're just all about saving,
Yeah.
well, what if you're saving in the wrong place? And well, there's inflation, and your assets don't purchase more as much as you thought. Just because it's a big number, if you don't have the right strategies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you could deplete it in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You could lose half of it to taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's a matter of linking your heart with your finances too. You know, a lot of us are emotional beings. We're not robots.
Yeah.
If we made the most logical choice, you know,
Yeah.
everyone would be wealthy. But
Yeah.
we have personal passions. We have things that are
Mhm.
important to us. So what I really enjoy is just helping people align what's important to them
Mm-hmm.
to sound financial practices and finding a
Right.
happy medium.
Yeah.
Because alongside financial literacy, a lot of it is just habits.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is just having systems in place. But for me, it's also finding that balance between
Mm-hmm.
living life, taking care of your responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
but also building and protecting a future that you want.
I love it. You said that so beautifully, man.
Thank you.
One thing that stood out to me with what you were saying was protecting your finances. One of the goals is with that. What advice would you give to a 21-year-old versus a 35-year-old?
Yeah.
Like where would they start to protect it? What action step versus a 21-year-old versus 35-year-old?
I mean, the earlier you're able to start implementing systems, the less pain you'll feel later on.
Okay.
So whether that's
Yeah.
you know, building towards certain milestones, there's this thing called compounding interest.
What is that?
So
'Cause I know I didn't hear about that until I turned about 26.
yeah,
So yeah.
if you're in the right vehicles, and you're in vehicles that are performing better than inflation, then you'll have, not only will you have more assets, you'll also be able to, your dollar goes further.
Yeah.
Because it's not, so say like checking savings growing at
Yeah.
1% and inflation's 3.5%.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain point, you do need liquid assets,
Mm-hmm.
having an emergency fund.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, car breaks down, health,
Yep.
we need the access to that.
Yeah.
So that's part of defense.
Yeah.
3 to 6 months, able to take care of personal finances.
Mm-hmm.
While also making sure there's sources of revenue coming in if you aren't able to work. So there are different defensive tools to help with that.
Right.
And after you reach that threshold, after you protect your income with, you know, certain health benefits, now it's optimizing what you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
So defense is not fun, not sexy at all, but it's important.
But it's smart. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing to note too is your emergency fund is fixed. So what would you do if it's gone?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow, I have 6 months. Well, what
Yeah.
if your health event is
More than that. Yeah.
then where's your income going to be coming from? So
Yeah.
making sure it's not necessarily on the offensive side, but on the defensive side, what, you know, tools, so what, you know, insurance tools do you have to help make sure there's income coming in? So those are the things that, you know, there are certain benefits from work, but
Yeah.
supplementing that so you're able to replace your full income.
Yeah.
Defensive side is something happens to you, would you rather leave what your assets are right now, or would you want to add $1 million to your family?
Right.
So that's legacy planning. On the legal side, and this may not be for 25, but as you have a family, 35, 45, I'm not a lawyer, but I, you know, advise clients all the time that something happens to you, you don't have your documents in place, your assets are going to go into probate. And for your family to receive, you know, if you were to pass away, if your family were to receive any blessing and there's no indication, there's no trust or will to dictate where things go, the government's going to take 6 months to a year or two to decide, okay, this is meant for this person, this person,
Right.
this person. And what if they are like, oh, yeah, and then this percent also goes to this cousin that
Yeah.
you don't even talk to.
Yeah.
That's on the legal side. So
Yeah.
I just talk a lot about on defense is just foundation.
Yeah.
You know, emergency fund, lowering your debt,
Mm-hmm.
taking care of your legal documentations,
Mhm.
the things we can't control. In a
Mhm.
health event, do we have assets that can replace what we have? Do we have legacy planning so our family isn't having to deal with a
Mhm.
$200,000 bill
Mm-hmm.
or your mortgage?
Yeah.
And then if our parents go through, you know, last year, the
Yeah.
biggest financial risk that people don't know about is health.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
We
Yeah.
can't really control it, but
Yeah.
what have we seen in cost of healthcare? It's exponentially increased.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right, you know, insurance tools in place, that can drastically affect
Yeah.
not just, you know, our assets,
Mm-hmm.
not just our bank accounts, but also being able to reach the goals that we told ourselves.
Right.
And who are we as, you know,
Yeah.
immigrants to tell our parents, hey, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm kind of doing this, you know, we
Mhm.
kind of have that utang ng loob, which is
Mhm.
debt of the heart, you know, in the Philippines,
Really? Yeah.
where, you know, I need to take care of mom
Mm-hmm.
and whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
But would you rather, you know, basically empty out your bank account, or what if you planned ahead, you had a cash reserve or
Mhm.
tools to help pay for
Mm-hmm.
those expenses? So when I think about defense, it's risk mitigation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is health, which you can't control.
Yep.
And then taxes, how do we minimize taxes?
Mhm.
And how do we minimize market risk?
Right.
And then the other side is just if you go through a life event,
Mm-hmm.
do I have enough capital, and then what happens after that?
Right.
Offense is just everything
Mm-hmm.
in terms of achieving some of our personal goals,
Right.
and some of the biggest offensive goal people look at is retirement,
Mm-hmm.
and that's looking to be about 2 million
Yeah.
plus, depending
Yeah.
on the type of life
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
just, and a lot of it I not just learned being in the career, but just, you know, I work with folks not just around our age, but also that are retired.
Mm-hmm.
And what really motivates me to talk to people as early as possible is I see what people are like in retirement, and they're like, well, Mark, what's our financial picture look
Yeah.
like? Well, you know, they tell me,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they only have 300,000 and they have to make that last
Mm-hmm.
30 years.
That's not gonna work.
There's
Yeah.
not a lot
Yeah.
that I can help with, but the earlier people are able to start,
Mm-hmm.
they actually put in less to have more.
Yeah.
And that's because in certain strategies, your assets start to compound.
Right.
But yeah, that's
I like it.
those are some of my
I like it.
some of
I
my
like
thoughts.
it, man. All right. So close out. What is the big goal in 2024? Since we're finishing out the year as well. So.
I mean, big goal. For me, it's just refocusing
Mm-hmm.
and just making sure I jumpstart 2024. You know, coming out of December, just sprinting.
Yeah.
So already getting started, planning for the year ahead.
Yeah.
So community-wise, we've started to calendar all our big events, all our big
Nice.
partnerships. So we have a lot of exciting announcements.
Yeah.
And then on the business personal side, business is just continuing to grow and serve as many people that look
Yeah.
like me.
Yeah.
I serve everyone, but
Yeah.
you know, my passion is how do I help position folks in a better place?
Mm-hmm.
And more times than not, folks find value
Mm-hmm.
in what I bring. So just being able to grow, continue to grow and help folks. And then, yeah, personally, just, you know, staying healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And continuing to grow as a person. I do believe, mind, body, spirit is all interconnected. So continuing to learn every day,
Yeah.
continuing to treat my body right, and just continuing to, have gratitude and faith, and share as much love as I can.
Yeah.
So those are the big things that I'm focused on.
Awesome, man. It's quite interesting that your goals. I had the same thought. Like, I thought about it. Like, I literally, when I wrote that question down yesterday, and I was like, what are my goals for 2024? And I was like, with this new office, like, I want to sprint so hard in 2024, and just like, explode. I want to just like go to meet as many people I can, help as many people I can, and give. And just, yeah, man, just ready to rock 2024. And like you mentioned, your own health, you want to take care, you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of other people even better, right? So awesome, man. I appreciate your time, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. I gotta ask you this, when's the last time you got adjusted, man?
Oh, it's been a while.
It's been a minute?
Yeah.
Adjustment today?
I'm open to it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, for sure. All right, man. We're good. We're done here, man. All this info is going to be down there, so follow along. See you guys later.
Thank you, guys. That was good.
Awesome, brother.
I love that tongue.
Huh?
I love this.
Appreciate it, man. It worked. Not bad for the first one.